What's that? Recording in progress. Mama told me what to say. All right, Matt. I was going to go to the Manja studio and rip that whole song, but I can't do that right now, man. We got breaking news. Breaking. Hold on a second. Breaking news. Miss Trade 5-3 in the college picks. 5-3, Matt, and a couple of them dead wrong, which is fine because the first dead wrong one was the Tennessee game, and seems like Rocky Top is for real this year.
Yeah, it's good to see him. I watched a little bit of that game, and yeah, Hooker's a great quarterback. They're looking good. Their defense is, UT-esque. They look good.
We're going to talk about great quarterbacks.
Maryland lost too. I think Purdue is a weird team. Like they're better than they've done this to me a couple times. Like, which is always.
Don't you hate that, the Boilermakers? Yeah. Because they're hard to root against. But you don't.
I mean, I don't hate them. I'm just
right. Exactly. And then they show up when you bet against them. They show up, and so now you're double pissed off because you can't be pissed off. Who doesn't want to see Purdue succeed?
Yeah, right? And then Kentucky's just a basketball school, just like Kansas was pretending to be a football school. And those are both gone now too. So
okay, so we got Michigan and Penn State Undy in the Big Ten, and you got
Michigan
UCLA.
and Penn State, and Syracuse. I'm assuming won. I have no idea if they even played. I don't even remember seeing them on the board. SC won. They covered. They beat Wazoo. UCLA. I loved that game. That one was a 5-star pick, and they demolished Utah. Again, make UCLA great again. There's just
bring it up the quarterbacking. 50 years since UCLA had a real Hollywood quarterback.
Yeah, everybody knows who Mark Harmon is. I mean, if you watch NCIS, but the association for me is his dad was one of the greatest players ever in the history of the college game, won Heisman 2 times at the University of Michigan back in the late 30s, 40s. My grandfather knew him, and then he ended up, out in LA doing a broadcasting career after football and after serving in the Army or Navy. I don't remember. But, I mean, his dad then, married Elise Knox, the supermodel, right? Look at her right there.
Hello, Elise.
And then he's got 2 sisters. Kristen Nelson was married to Ricky Nelson, the singer. And then Kelly Harmon was a big name. You probably, I talked about it a little bit. They don't have a picture, but she was the voice of WRIF commercials, rock and roll radio in Detroit back when I was growing up. So she was a big deal. So the Harmon family was always big in my mind. And I remember, so Tom played 2 years at a junior college out there in Pierce. Where was it? Pierce College, somewhere in LA. And he was an All-American in 1971. Then he got offers from Oklahoma and UCLA. He stayed at home and became an academic second-team All-American for UCLA in 1973. And then the funny thing I just wanted to bring up here was nothing's changed though. The more
50 years of football at a high level.
50 years and still. Even though they were playing in the Coliseum back then, nobody went to the games even back then. Nobody went to the games.
What do we got? We got something in the background playing.
Can you turn them off?
I don't know. You see it? I don't know where it's coming from.
It's whoever is in here. Get them out.
Oh, got it. All right, somebody's in trouble. All right, there we go. All right, Lee, you're in trouble. It was Lee.
I think it was Mark.
It was Lee. All right, listen. So we got
So make UCLA again, and it was good to see.
Again. Why wouldn't we?
And USC was playing in the Coliseum, and that did look like a pretty good crowd. Fight on Trojans. Riley was actually at the game. He sent me a picture, so his daughter goes there. So good for him, enjoying down there in LA. Right TCU on. Again, held on to beat Kansas in a good game, but they only won by. I covered there by a half point, so those spreads were pretty good. 6.5, and they won by 7. Ohio State won easily. Tennessee won easily. Penn State had the bye week, so they're really ready for Michigan. Another 9 a.m. start, though. God, these are early games. Ole Miss, by the way, for real. They won big again. Georgia won big. Oklahoma State won. So not a lot changed there. Clemson jumped up ahead of Michigan, even though Michigan covered the spread. People like Clemson, they want to have an ACC team right now in the top four versus 2 Big Ten teams. So
right on.
Michigan gets the bye-bye.
All right, Matt,
I'd rather be coming from the nobody thinks you're worth shit mode for the entire season. Ohio State looks damn good, though. That CJ Stroud and receiving core is awesome. They're awesome. No doubt about it. I hate to say it, but
we're gonna get picks on some big games.
Ohio State does look to me to be the number 1 team currently, even over Georgia.
Right on.
Yep.
Right on. All right, man, listen.
In the pro games we had, of course, Buffalo Bills demolished the Steelers. They were 14-point favorites. They won by like 30. And then Tommy Brady was up 21-0, just sowing his oats against Atlanta. And then Giselle must have come to the stadium and he saw her, and they gave up 15 late.
So 1-1 in the pro, plus 10 picking.
In the pro. And again, what can you do when you're up 21-0? That's a sucky one there. But
all right, man, listen, I have to wish all my Canadian friends a happy and joyous Thanksgiving, as it's Thanksgiving in Canada. And what
is Thanksgiving in Canada? Like, what does that represent?
Dude, it's awesome. I got to tell you, one of my favorite things about marrying a Canadian was 2 Thanksgivings every year. And it was identical as our Thanksgiving, right? Fantastic spread, drinking, turkey. One of the great football victories of all time was U.S.-Canada Canadian Thanksgiving. Me and my brothers, a couple brothers and sons, playing a Canadian cohort, had to light the field with car lights.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me tractor lights. I would have.
No, car lights, and we did the fumble rooski in the dark for the winning touchdown. Still to this day, hotly debated whether it was legal or not. It's legal. Like, it's legal. I mean, just because you couldn't see the ball on the ground and thought somebody else had it that is legal, the fumble rooski. A little shout out, happy Thanksgiving, Neil Young. He says, if you won't censor the guy I don't like, I won't let you listen to Keep on Rocking in the Free World. Oh, is that ever beautiful? And we like to do price discovery at some point on this show. So Matt, let's look at the Canadian dollar. We looked at the and we'll jump to the DXY, but let's go Canada first.
Oh, Canada.
Canadian dollar first.
Canada got knocked out of America's sport. Toronto Blue Jays got those were the expansion teams in 1976, Seattle and Toronto, and they played in that. Is that who played, or that? Yeah, they played Toronto. Is that correct? Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's talk a little baseball too, because we're bringing in the Canadian dollar. But they were the favored team at home against Seattle, and Seattle came in there and whopped them in 2 games. And the second game, they were down 9-1. Toronto. I mean, how bad is that coach fired right now? I mean, I don't even know who he is. I don't even know who the coach of the Toronto Blue Jays is. But you lose 2 at home. I mean, and your season's over. That seems like you're in trouble there a little bit. Canadian loonie making new lows for the move recently, but not all-time lows that we saw here just a few weeks ago when we were down here about 0.72185. Looks like that was the low. And again, this is a short-term chart we've talked about in the past, just kind of dragging on the bottom here. Really nothing positive coming out of Canada except for Canadian Thanksgiving, I guess. And
the lows from 20.
I'll make another crazy bet here that the Red Wings will outperform the Maple Leafs after they're good. The Maple Leafs had a good season last year, but
they did. Now those are fighting words in Canada, right
I
there.
know,
You
but
get a bet right now from a Canadian on that.
I know. I'm gonna put it
so
out there.
right now we're full swing gambling. Hockey and basketball about to start, right?
Yep. Pro basketball and hockey are finishing up their minor, Draymond and beating the shit out of the big bro. And then I saw some clips from yesterday, and they said Draymond's definitely gone. When you saw some of the slick moves that Jordan Poole has, he's a player, dude. And Draymond's getting old and grumpy, so you can replace that guy pretty easily anymore.
Canada. Let's stick with Canada because I really think I don't see why it wouldn't go see the COVID low at 68 cents, which happened to be a pretty good double bottom from the 2016 low.
Okay.
In Canada, and I just don't know why it wouldn't go there, and especially since they shoot themselves in their own foot. They're a giant resource country, and their leadership wants to not sell resources.
Right.
I don't know how that works out for you long term.
Probably not very good.
So that's what I would be looking to sell Canada every rally.
Yeah.
Until they get a change of leadership.
Yeah. The dollar is up a little bit today. I did it earlier and it was up here 113 or so, 113 and a quarter. And again, making a move towards that 115 where it paused last time. Got up to 113.28 and a half or so this morning. But again, this is the reason why I don't see us crashing right now. And if we don't get this crash done basically between now and the end of this week, that's the 15th. So again, I'm kind of seeing that just where we are in the cycles, that we're probably nearing an end of this downward move. And the fact that we can't get a whoosh to the downside leads me,
especially with what's going on. With missiles flying, you'd think there's no flight to quality in the bonds as the bonds are lower.
It's interesting. We had a big spike here since we came on 132.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, I know.
132.08 up 20 cents. So everything's kind of turned, and maybe that's maybe that test of 3,600 was all we needed again, which wasn't a new low, by the way, on the SPOOs. And then the NASDAQ did make a new low here. It ticked 12 points lower. That's it. So I don't know again, very confusing markets. Oil hit almost 94 overnight, now back to 92. Very bullish still, nothing changing there, Bob.
Let me just share one thing because it's the hypocrisy of the news cycle.
Yep.
It just blows me away. And Darren Beadle shared this today because everybody's, up in Darren Beadle. Africa Archives shared NATO launched more than 100,000 air raids on Libya in 2011, over 500,000 civilian casualties. And when they're questioned about civilian casualties, they insisted that it was collateral damage, and that is what happens in wars. Believe me, both of us had said, can't we just get to the negotiating table at some point in this? And the narrative is just unbelievable how Macron said overnight or yesterday that they'd be giving them more money because the EU's money that was promised is somewhere stuck in the red tape somewhere. The accountability issue on this is mind-boggling.
The whole story is just, it's impossible to even comment on how ridiculous it all is, right?
And the markets for sure. There's been zero.
Why now are liberal Democrats like the biggest neocon fascists out there? They want war. Why do they want?
I don't know. It's beyond me. And I did see we talked about Nancy's unbelievable trading last week with the.
But did you see she bought 10,000 of the AMGN?
Yes. Yeah. Now I don't know if this is true. Obviously, nothing. Everything on Market Vitals is guaranteed. Probably. Let's just get that Let's get that out there right away. Well, she supposedly rang the register huge on Biden's the announcement that he was commuting sentences and/or pardoning everybody with possession. Mm-hmm. And she banked on that one. And the latest is that she's bought
the radiation drug, the anti-radiation drug for nuclear events, right?
That terrifies me more than anything.
It does terrify you, and the fact that how brazen is she to even think about trading on that stuff? You know,
what is the name of that stock? Because we should
AMGN.
go look at it.
AMGN.
Have we ever looked at it? I thought
We haven't looked at it in a long time. It's a big company, big stock. You know, one of the successful biotechs out of Silicon Valley, and AMGN, $124 billion market cap, 3.4% dividend yield paid today. This stock has been in, you know, a bracket here since, you know, this is going back, back to March. So it's half a year look here, but it's really in a bracket, as you can see. If we were to fractal out a little bit, I mean, this is these guys are involved in a lot of different businesses, and this has been a good name for people to own.
That kind of looks like the sea level rise chart. For 200
very bullish,
years.
very bullish, very bullish above one. You know, and again, this is going back to 2015. I don't know if this thing's really ever had a bad day in its life.
Wow.
So, you know, going back to 1984, if you bought that day one, you've held on. That has been nothing but a fantastic buy and hold with a little trailing 3.5% dividend yield. So good for you if you've owned that for the last 38 years. It's been a nice performer.
Beautiful. That's
one of the truly few companies that can say that, right?
Right on.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
Where do you want to go from here, Matt? Where would you like to jump off to?
And again, I think some of the baseball stuff was like, I was excited about it this weekend. You had Cleveland winning at home 2 games versus, again, Tampa Bay. That was kind of a big win. They get the fortunate job of moving on to play Houston, where Verlander, believe it or not, is still pitching. Tough. I mean, talk about it. He and Scherzer seem to be there every year. You know, for Verlander, it was either Detroit or now Houston. Scherzer, it's been Detroit and then Atlanta, then Washington. Wasn't he on Philly for a while? Now he's on the Mets. I mean, he was on the Braves. Like, whatever team he was on, like Scherzer, but he lost. I mean, the Mets are done again. So might be the end of his illustrious pitching career. Scherzer, that is. And then how about the Mariners? Again, coming back, they were down 8 or 9-1 in that game, Bob. And that was game 2. They'd already won the first game handily. And then that second game, they were getting crushed by Toronto. And then again, Toronto just...
They went all Canadian Thanksgiving on us.
Yeah, they went all soft. They went all soft on us. I don't know what happened. And then the Padres swept, or didn't sweep, but won the first game, lost the second game. This was the only 3-game series out of the 3. Phillies upset the division leader Cardinals. Go figure. So,
right, so which sets us up for Dodgers
Padres. We got a West Coast,
right, great little
in division. You know, they're in the same league or division in the league. That'll be exciting. You know, I mean, I don't see how anybody is beating really the Dodgers out of the NL right now, but that's why they play the games, and they're still, you know, baseball's so exciting. It is really exciting. Just the fan. I love just what, you know, they got all the fans with their hats on backwards and just all the superstition you can just see in the faces of the people and all their pent up whatever it is.
Yeah, time really slows down.
Oh my gosh, it's so different. Like, it's similar, but it's so different than hockey, right? Because every bounce of the puck,
right,
is happening so
hockey
fast.
is constant chaos.
Yeah, constant chaos. Where baseball is, you know. And then the interesting thing yesterday was that this Musgrove for the Dodgers has just been on a tear. Like, the last 30 innings has been like .33 ERA, .33. That's 3 runs that's a third of a run in the last 3 games. That means he's given up 1 run in 3 games. That's it.
That's insane.
It's unbelievable.
Those are Bob Gibson numbers.
They're incredible numbers. And he had total control over the ball last night. These cutters were hitting the spots. Like, the guys were saying, he should throw it here. And he would go, he should throw it here. And the batters were just like, what the heck is going on? Showalter comes out in the 7th. And you know, they're in New York, and the announcer's like, what's going on here? And so all of a sudden, because there's 6 umps in baseball, for the playoffs. There's normally 4, but now they have 6 for the lines. So they all come out. They basically, they have him take off his hat, Musgrove, and he's just like, they already checked their gloves and their hands between every inning.
I did not know that. Between every inning, looking for
they give him the glove to make sure there's no razor blade in there. There's no pine tar. Right. There's nothing that can make that ball spin differently. And then the announcers were great. They're like Andrew McCutchen, the former, Pittsburgh and San Francisco outfielder. He's a great player. He was like, listen, a lot of these guys put hot sauce like on their ears. They think it gives them like a special, like, because it's like a topical like lidocaine, basically.
I'm gonna send some Manja Cajun hot sauce.
I think you need to start sending your hot sauce to the pitching staffs and the pitching coaches of MLB teams. I mean, seriously, this is your market.
Manja hot sauce to every major league pitcher. Hey, by the way,
and his ear did look inflamed. I mean, I'm not going to say it didn't. I was like, well, maybe.
Birthday over the weekend, Matt, and I got
happy birthday, Bobby.
Giant fan of T-shirts. All right, and this one, the llama with the golf ball, big hitter, the llama, kind of like me, big hitter, the llama. And
but the llama's looking right at the camera.
I know it's llama. Anyway, what else could we talk about price wise?
We can talk a little bit about crude. Crude this week again hit almost 94. We didn't talk about a chart, but I can throw that up real quick.
Yeah, let's do that. And I gotta see if something jumps out at me.
So let me just get a shorter time frame so we can take a look at this. And again, new high pushed up to, where did we go? 93.64. So again, just climbing, climbing 76 up to 93.64. I'm starting to feel bad for Joe. Maybe it was Canadian Thanksgiving and all, but I'm just the guy is bumbling his way through. I don't know what he's bumbling his way through. It's really kind of sad what is happening to this country right now, and it just doesn't seem like anybody on either side of the aisle wants to stand up and be different right now. And I really, honestly, can you remember a time like that?
There has always been
in our lives.
Even in the height of any of our conflicts, there's always been healthy coverage of the other side, people pushing for peace. I've not seen a single thing on a major network news thing where somebody is
Henry
saying,
Kissinger and Elon Musk are the only two, right?
Yeah. Man, let me share this one because this is and we're going to stay on currencies today a little bit here. The yen, this is a monthly. All right, we don't trade the monthly, but I just wanted to show this. First of all, you can't find a time when the yen was so weak. All right, I'm not sure how far somebody's got an archive for, but I believe this is all-time lows, and they're feverishly trying to defend. And Matt, when I was first on the trading floor in the middle 80s, there was central bank intervention all the time, 85, 86, 87. Mm-hmm. And usually if you were over levered, you got smoked on the intervention, right? Because the market reacted heavily in the intervention direction. But the central bank couldn't do anything long-term, right? There were always little short-term moves. Going back to one of our favorite villains and the NGOs, non-government organizations, proved that and made his career. And I'm talking about our friend, British pound short. Soros, yeah, he made his own money shorting the pound, and believe me, they intervened and tried to stem the tide of that. But global currencies, you cannot intervene if they're going a direction. Like the intervention is not going to stop the direction. The market has to stop the direction it's moving. And this yen looks like it's just going to fall out of bed. I mean, I don't even know what fractal I can go to and paint a different picture. But quarterly, monthly, everything is falling away, and very interesting to see, especially when the call out on a trade desk would be the Fed's in or the Bank of Japan is in, and you get a whoosh the other way. And believe me, people are chomping at the bit, waiting for that intervention to subside.
And it also, unfortunately, plays into the geopolitical situation, right? You got North Korea threatening Japan, and Japan, warning their citizens, and being in a weak state of currency situation is never a good thing, like to be going through, because to your point, whoever's betting against you is going to keep betting against you until they break you. And that's the bad thing about, I guess that is the bad thing about floating currencies, but that's also the good thing, is like, if your house isn't in order, it will be exposed. And I happen to think that that's what makes free markets great. I think there should be a discussion and an argument. And if I think it's negative news and you think it's positive and we both have money on it, then that's really all that matters. And who's right
again? Yeah, you tell me whatever you think. That's terrific. But are you going to put money where your mouth is, and are you going to leverage the bet?
Right.
Those are the two questions,
right?
Because the leverage will kill your opinion every time. All right, Matt.
Now the fact that
let me just jump through a couple of these other ones, because I wanted to point out and today in particular, both the Aussie and the New Zealand, and believe me, on the trading floor, those three currencies, the Canada, the Aussie, and New Zealand, were kind of thought about similarly, and almost like a basket. You do those three against the dollar, and the Aussie looking weaker still, and New Zealand also down to 55 cents. Much closer to its COVID low. It's COVID low. And again, these other currencies, they look like they're falling off the table. And I think that's the impetus for the next big push here in the DXY up to 120.
Yeah, I think once you see one of these, European countries really flail, or not pay their pensions, I think that's absolutely true. And it just feels to me like, if it doesn't happen soon, maybe we get a reprieve.
Right. And conversely here, the DXY expanding potential on the weekend, right? On the weekly, 116.5 this week. But if we take out that high and we keep closing higher, that's going to be 120 next week.
Right.
I mean, the potential in this chart is starting to ping that level that we thought it was going to go to. And don't fight the chart, man. It's like fighting City Hall. You never fight City Hall.
It's really, it's tough to do it, on the longer time frames, especially. It's interesting, we've got all this negative geopolitical news, and really quiet on the domestic front, really is, right? And yet all we're doing is we're in this big fat range. I mean, the NASDAQ, we went from 10.890 up to 10.730 round trip, right? And this was all hype on an emergency FOMC meeting that never materialized. Right. So it just shows you how the rats are being fed by QE, and how if the QE is promised, then they'll buy this market up. And if they take away the QE, which they really haven't, but the impression is they're not bringing more, then it'll sell off. So I don't like that. I don't like how easily manipulated that is. And that, because that wasn't around until Sunday night. They weren't talking about it Friday when it closed. Somebody over the weekend was stuck is all it was. And then they needed to get back short. So they waited until it ran up to 11.6 and got short 11.6 to 11.7 again. Oh, that meeting then. Who was talking about that? That didn't exist.
Yeah, we always had the meeting on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, same with the SPOOs. So we went from 35.71 all the way up to 38.21. But again, we just held 3,600 here. We didn't even get to the low on the SPOs. I could see us traveling to, again, I said it last week, 39.50 to a little higher before this thing, decides to go back the other way. And that may not be until November. It may not be, I don't know how long, we would get a rally, but these rallies seem to be so fast and so furious again, that 39.50 level up in here is really the top of the profile. That's why it's not like a magic number. It's just, again, where the price could drift up to, and we're staying at the bottom of this. So unless we literally close on it, below it on a weekend, on a Friday, which we haven't, it's hard not to be a little bullish here because everybody's so bearish. And everybody can't be right. It just doesn't work that way again. So we're back.
Yeah, for sure. And the fact that it seems like there's less and less impact with geopolitics to this.
And there's less and less liquidity in these markets, by the way. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. Well, Mark was sharing that, was it Jamie Dimon saying that markets may become disorderly?
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
I mean, I don't know about you, but the way they go straight up, straight down.
Yeah, it's already disorderly.
It's already disoriented. It's not an easy. I will. There are moments where, and we've been in one now for most of like mid-September on. This is not an easy market to trade at all for me. I'm doing less and kind of like, because I don't really have a strong feel one way or the other. And although I'm sitting there leaning a little bullish, well, it could still go down to 3,300 and I'd be wrong.
Right.
But I don't necessarily know if it's going to do it right now. I just think too many people are bearish. I think there's too much negativity. We're going to have another interest rate rise. We're starting earnings. I mean, basically that's got to be the last 2 weeks.
We need to go over that earnings calendar because I honestly think that's if people start reporting misses, because they haven't yet.
No, they haven't. And we also haven't had jobs misses, and we haven't had, we have CPI, PPI this week. That's the big news again.
Right.
So
how could it be any good?
Well, but again, maybe that's the reason we start rallying. Maybe it's better than expected. I don't know.
All right. That's what we got. That's all we got. Matt, thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Lee. Please join us at marketvitals.io. Please share, retweet, and plagiarize. We are the only show that begs you to plagiarize what we said. Plagiarize it far and wide, Matt. And please visit Amazon.com and buy yourself some Shrimp Mojo or some Manja hot sauce or the bacon habanero ketchup or the whiskey barbecue sauce.
And if you're, if you're a friend of Buck Showalter, send him some Manja hot sauces, please, for his pitchers next year. Because
if you know an MLB pitcher, let me send you some hot sauce that you can give it to him, because I'm sure the Manja hot sauce would dominate the taco and the mound like none other. Like none other. That's how we do it.
I don't think you could ever put together that sentence again.
It's like a score. It's like a scoreorigami.
No, just say it again slowly.
Nothing will dominate the taco or the mound like Manja Cajun hot sauce.
No, but the taco or the mound.
Yeah,
like people are like,
sometimes.
Here, but I don't know if you stop.
You can visit my OnlyFans page and see a taco mound.
Right. This is what I'm saying. Like, what are you talking about?
By the way, it's going to be.
I did want to. I threw this in before we came on, and you probably haven't a chance to see it. But even hedge fund manager Gary Cohen, who owns the New York Mets, harsh critique of Mets' Joe Musgrove check, smacked of desperation, and that's exactly what I felt. I'm like, this game is totally over now. Like Buck Showalter, you just put a fork in your own team.
Right on. So you're going out looking for the razor blade when your guys just can't hit him. They just can't hit him.
You just sucked. He pitched a beautiful game. He had a one-hitter in 8 full innings, and he threw less than 100 pitches. What else can you ask for out of a guy?
Right on.
I mean, he maybe had one ball hit to the warning track. He was just phenomenal. He was so good. It was great because I like the Padres. I like their ownership. I like the team. I don't think they have a chance against my Dodgers. But honestly, I'd be happy either way. I'd be happy if the Padres upset them, and I expect the Dodgers to win. But it's true. Like Gary Cohen, one smart MFer, said, and this is the owner of the team, basically calling out your manager, going, "That was weak." I don't think he'll be around next year. Just saying.
You don't have to go to the meeting.
By the way, have you seen those new commercials where they have the families that I think they're progressive again, where they like the kid with his dad, the dad like kills a spider, and the kid's like making fun of his dad. Well, it was pretty scary, but that scream was a little. He goes, "Scream!" The dad's like, "Scream!" And the kid's got the red flag.
Oh yeah, they dropped the red flag, and those are good.
Those are good ads. Those are great ads.
Those
are great ads. They're great ads. They really are.
Next on Market Vitals tomorrow, we're going to cover advertising agencies that are publicly traded. Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Peace.